Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditative practice that enters a space of mindfulness and awareness through the act of drawing. We strive in these exercises to blend, synchronize, and find some harmony between our natural state of being, the presence of our breath that guides our motion, our interaction with ourself and with the world, and the movement of our hand, some form of pen or pencil, and some medium of paper. This is a meditative practice. There's lots of repetition, of bringing attention to what we are doing on the space of the page, how we are doing it, and that can lead to desires, moments to feel an intention, to finish something, to complete a cycle and a pattern. And that's a space for us to look inward, to breathe into that, and be present with each repetition of a repetitive field, to explore how we act when we know something can be done. We have a direction to go, but we take the time to do each piece of it with care, with an attention to developing a mindful presence in the acts that we take on. We'll have a simple subject this week, a graph, a network, circles, overlapping, moving, bundling, collecting around the page. Their centers, linking, combining, finding spaces of travel, of intersection, and then a little reading into, finding shapes in the new spaces of that network, taking it from lines and curves into regions and tones. Just to play in that space of a drawing we make with a little time together, breathing, moving, creating. I'm going to use a kind of marker pen, but pen, pencil, anything will work. A piece of Bristol here, a sketchbook, a pad of paper, something from the printer will all suffice as we just take a little time to breathe, to move, to fill out some space, and see what we can discover. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. And we'll work by exploring the subtle overlap or intersection of circles, inspired a little by setting down a coffee cup and getting a little ring on the counter, and then sketching in the sketchbook what we'll draw circle-ish things and do several of them and kind of like stack them up, play with the size so they may touch kind of edge to edge, something like that. They can nest into the spaces between, to kind of clump together more tightly, or stack up in a grid. They can change size with each iteration. And I think as we draw, they can do some little bits of overlap, grabbing on to each other here and there. Some touching, some extending out, even having gaps between is fine. So as we're warming up, starting to pay attention to drawing counterclockwise or clockwise, just getting that motion to happen. They don't have to be perfect circles, but one thing we'll give attention to is starting and ending kind of similarly in space, playing a little with our comfort of speed, closing the gap. Right now, just drawing a bunch of them to get the hand to move in that way, feeling out whatever tool you're using, a little bit quicker, marker-y thing, pen or pencil should work fine. I think something we'll explore once we have quite a lot of these. It should be a good, warm entry into the exercise. We'll be connecting them, maybe at centers, maybe at intersections, maybe in geometric patterns or random walks, trying out different stuff to map through that space once we have it and see where that takes us. Before we enter into the larger page, just taking a moment to enter into our space, the space established for the exercise, feel it out a little bit. We start with the feet. If you're sitting and they're on the floor, just move them a little, rocking side to side, rocking a little forward and back, letting all those nerves at the bottom of the feet engage with your place there, establishing a base. And then whatever else may be kind of touching, perhaps the seat, Just moving the spine a little side to side, a little forward and back. To again, feel out that place that brings support and stability, brings evenness, hopefully a little bit of lightness to the back. Give the shoulders a little side to side, a little up and down, or circling around, just feeling through the body, making sure it's all present and active for us to enter the exercise. Maybe a couple rolls of the wrists around in circles, developing that circular thinking cycles, rotating around as part of our entrance into the exercise, filling out a series of connected circles. And just take a couple of establishing breaths on your own pace and cadence, filling out some space, holding it for a moment, and then letting it return to relaxation or equilibrium. And after a couple of those breaths, holding on to your pen or pencil, the instrument of engaging here with the page, feeling out a place to start where the hand, eye, and pen and paper come together, and drawing a circle, big, small, somewhere there on the paper, establishing that first place of expression, getting the blank page out of the way. And what we'll do is enter here with our breath to keep filling out space with circles, touching, overlapping, separating, all part of the exploration. Take a nice breath in, find a place for that pen or pencil, and on the exhalation, allow it to move, to draw the next capture of space. And at your own cycle of breath after the first few, breathing in to establish where to draw, establish direction, and then exhale to let it flow out around that empty center. In and out, starting and finishing in the same place. Beginning with that breath on the cycle in to establish the intention of the circle by going clockwise or counterclockwise, starting without or starting within. A little bit of pause as we cycle the breath to cycle the attention to where we are and what we're doing. And again, this may have tight overlaps, filling in places between, breathing and moving the hand just to build up a density of these interconnected moments. With the next breath in, observing the direction of drawing, clockwise or counterclockwise, staying with that cycle, that direction. On the next few breaths, bringing the attention into the speed of motion, just observing where you're going fast or slow, drawing with the pacing of the breath. No need to correct to anything, just seeing where you are, how that movement of the hand, once established, flows out with the cycles of inhalation and exhalation. If there's a little breath at the end of that cycle of drawing, it just becomes a place of repose, of finishing a cycle, of re-observing. If the drawing goes longer than the breath, a nice quiet place of completing the cycle, different ends of the same action. And if the page you're working on begins to fill, the bubbles cramming together, perhaps there's small internal areas to work with. Slowing down a little in the motion. Now through the phase of observation and familiarity with our own place of action, guided by the breath, guided by the motion our hand and arm may naturally fall into. We give a final few marks on the page that track in sync with our breathing, in sync with action. Breathing in and moving at the pace of the breath. One cycle, one circle. Just finding a few moments of that quietness of synchronization. A harmony between our filling and our emptying. As you complete your next cycle or two, depending on how your circles are filling the page, what you have space for, or maybe feel as an end to the breath, we'll transition to a reading of the map. That harmony synchronized in a repetition of practice, providing a territory or space to explore. Circle-ish shapes having a center somewhere. Can we connect them? Precisely or loosely, taking a line on a little journey between each space marked out by the circle. You can still use this to enter into the breath. One stroke per cycle of exhalation, or just draw the natural pace. Each of our territories will be something unique. So each movement through that space can take on its own form. The closest 3 centers of any of the circles will always result in some form of triangle. Maybe we can work at different intensities of connection. Slowly building a network or graph between these pieces. using the found space as a place of exploration. Being present with something we have created, guided, being open to its change, the circle holding space towards its interior, the line crossing and connecting spaces, branching, defining new networks of interconnection, networks of interaction, in which each crossing line, the density reveals new shapes, new intersections, new possibilities for space of play for the eyes, space of looking through pattern, and what do you notice as you've been drawing for a while? In your pacing, in your speed of motion and application of graphite or ink to the paper? Is there a race to complete? Is there a wandering through segments? A slow accumulation? Observing anything that may come to mind as the network slowly resolves. I notice a desire to complete, to connect every center to every other center, which may happen if we draw long enough. And I can breathe into that desire. Keep my attention and mindfulness on the act of drawing to each individual line, which may accumulate to filling out the connections throughout the network. But for now, it's just one moment, one breath, one line special in its formation. The getting from here to there. Our space of slowness, that linkage, a crossing of time. And wherever you may be in that journey of connecting centers, crossing open territories, bridging between spaces. We have now a more complex field, a density for the eyes to wander through. Can keep connecting centers if you have them, or drawing new circles and expanding the territory inwards or outwards. I think I'll move into a phase of reading, of finding new shapes and relationships. My eyes notice the gaps left in these divided regions, some complex Boolean spaces, voids bound by themselves, the division, and their neighbors. Little pieces of a pie connected around that divided center. Something for the eye to wander around, unique in its orientation, but connected to the whole as a product of the network. Dividing these graphic overlaps into new figures. Many to explore. Again, you enter each one in a few minutes of silent drawing, really tracking the geometry that the eyes follow, tracking the new shape, the new movement of the hand in each case, finding difference in the repetition through the network. Notice in the time of quiet, in the time of developing pattern, of repetition, a desire to complete, to fill every space. Can we breathe with that desire? Again, recognizing it, understanding its natural presence when the start of a pattern or system is underway. Our eyes begin to see the completion, tallying all the parts. And again, it may come, it may not. Being in each moment, not ahead to the finish line. A part of the lesson and the practice, in the engagement with the time on the page. Keeping an even pace to practice that presence of mind. Knowing it's okay to have that intention or desire to map all the territory. With time that can come. But remembering that each moment in that landscape is something to observe, to be with, to give presence to, as in the end the whole will be made of all those interconnected parts, and each will have its connection present. Each will contribute its interaction. And so each gets its own attention and time. As you continue to fill places, or you may have found them all by now, filled out a full network, circles, connected centers, spaces left between. What do the eyes begin to see in that hole? Letting them wander through it. Perhaps there is opportunity for filling, shading, distinguishing in from out from in as things overlap. Turning curve and line into pattern and fill. Or keep drawing connections. Just a few minutes left to let the looseness of the play emerge from the time of mindfulness and attention. Let the mind come back to a supple state, a stretching, a cool down, just to change modes of seeing, change modes of moving the hand perhaps for a minute or two as it comes slowly to a close, a time of rest, or perhaps finds excitement and re-engagement for a time of creativity and play. But wherever you are in continuing or ending the practice in the drawing, as we come towards the end of time, be sure to give your hands a little good stretch and attention. Begin some waving, some forward and back. It's a lot of time there moving in one space. Good to take a break. Stretch out, up. And give yourself a little thankfulness and gratitude to taking some time to play, to pay attention, and to see what you can create on the page. A space defined by the interaction of shapes, an algorithm for mapping through that territory, a drawing in process. And that's something we can find in these exercises, a presence of being with the process, with how you draw each line, each curve, each shape, a mindfulness and attention to what you are constructing, what you are creating, what you are finding, and a letting go of finishing. It's not a list, it's not something to do, it's just a drawing in different stages of interaction. I hope in this process of drawing, you're able to find some relaxation, some connection and harmonizing of the breath, and hopefully engage and work through any feelings of desire for completeness or what it could be, and finding what it is in each moment that you act with that pen or pencil and interact with that paper to make something visual out there on the page and play in a space of mindful drawing. If you like these exercises, please give it a thumbs up below. Leave me some comments about what you discovered in the process, how you're extracting creativity and engagement, mindful practice from going through something visual and physical as well as mental and internal. I upload new videos usually every Wednesday morning, and you can catch us live via Mindful Pratt or on Twitch at Rooks is Fun, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Feel free to share anything you found here with your friends, take them into your own practice, explore what you might create, and potentially bring others around you into that space of mindfulness and creativity that we can create here with the page. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Draw well. Thank you.